Hi friends, Stephanie here, and I'm back with more movie chatter. And what I have for you today are movies that are based on or inspired by true events. And these are not documentaries, which means that the writers may take some creative liberties in some parts for entertainment value, but they pretty much stick to the basics of the true story. So I'm going to keep my commentary brief because I don't do spoilers, and true stories are really easy to spoil. So I'm just going to give you a brief overview. Now, this first one stars Jared Leto, and it is called Prefontaine, and it's brought to us by the same people who gave us the documentary Hoop Dreams about basketball players, and that's part of the Criterion Collection. Amazing documentary. But this is a fantastic movie based on the life of distance runner Steve Prefontaine, who was part of the 1972 Olympic team, Olympic track team. And we follow him from an early age when he is just this guy who is just, he has such drive to succeed, and he is so passionate about running and distance running in particular. And the way they describe him is cocky, charismatic, and tough. And they also describe him as the James Dean of track. And let me tell you, Jared Leto is so good in this movie. He is so believable, and it takes place like in the early 70s, and it very much feels like a timepiece. It very much gets that 70s vibe, that 70s feel. But it's a really interesting look at his life, his running career, what drove him, what he was passionate about, different odds that he overcame, like when the team couldn't get any funding, how hard he worked to get them what they needed to participate in different events, and just a very, very inspirational story. So if you haven't seen Prefontaine, put it on your list. This is a Kino Lorber title, so put it on your list for the next Kino sale. It's a good one. And this next one, I have talked about it before, but I am going to keep talking about this movie until everybody is watching it, because I think it is fantastic, and it is such an important and amazing story. And it's called The Express, the Ernie Davis story. And Ernie Davis was a running back for Syracuse University, and he was the first Black American to win the much coveted Heisman Trophy, and this is his story. And Dennis Quaid plays his coach, who really, really pushed him to the limit to get him to be the best he could be. And Ernie Davis was an amazing, amazing person, amazing human, and an amazing football player. And if you haven't seen The Express, please, please put it on your list, because it's fantastic. And I think it's a movie that everyone should see, and it's a man that everyone should know about. So check out Ernie Davis and his story. And this next one, I have to check the name, because I'm always getting the name wrong of the doctor. All right, I got it. Okay, this one stars Forrest Whitaker. That's not the name, I forget. It's called The Last King of Scotland. And it's really the story of Nicholas Garrigan, who was a Scottish doctor who had just recently graduated from Edinburgh University, and he decides to go to Uganda to work in like a health clinic where he can do some good, he can learn, and he has a chance run-in with Idi Amin, who was the new president of Uganda. And we know, if you know anything about Idi Amin, you know what kind of a person he was. And Idi Amin really took a liking to this Nicholas guy, and he invites him to be his personal physician. And in taking the job as his personal physician, Nicholas sees things that he probably A, didn't want to see, and B, really shouldn't have seen. And this is that story. And this is a very, very important and moving story about Nicholas's relationship and his encounters and his time spent with Idi Amin and what he saw. And this one blew me away from the first time I saw it, and I highly, highly recommend The Last King of Scotland. And Forrest Whitaker is terrifying in that movie. Now this next one, this is a movie, this one is from, I can't even read it because I'm so blind and they make the writing so small, but it was only a few years ago, maybe it was 2020, but it's called Belfast, and it's a movie by Kenneth Branagh. And this takes place in the 1960s in Belfast, and basically this is the story of, it's based on Kenneth Branagh's childhood. And he was living in his little neighborhood with his family, and his family was Protestant, and it was a largely Protestant area where they lived. And then they have Catholic families that start to move in, and there is there are problems between the Catholic community and the Protestant community, and it becomes very, very, very problematic for the people who all live there. And the home that this young fella lives in, he lives with his parents, but it's a multi-generational family. So they have the grandparents living there, his parents, and then he lives there. And so it's a multi-generational home, and his father goes and he works somewhere else because it's not safe for him and it's not good for him to be working in the area, so he has to travel to work. And really what it comes down to is this has always been their home, and because of all the conflicts and the problems, they have to decide, are they going to stay or are they going to go? Will they stay in Belfast where they've really lived their whole lives, or are they going to be run out by these conflicts that are going on? But this was a fantastic movie, and it was shot in black and white. Judi Dench is in it. She's fantastic as always. And I just think this movie deserves so much more love and attention than what it got. And I wish more people were watching it and talking about it, because it's a winner. Belfast is great. And now this one, you may have heard of it, you may have seen it, but I brought a documentary. There's a documentary and there's a film. And the film stars Emile Hirsch and John Robinson and even Heath Ledger. And it is called The Lords of Dogtown. And this takes place, I believe it's in the early 70s. And we have this group of kids that they really changed the face of skateboarding as we know it today. And like skateboarding is a big thing now, but back then they just they hung around this, I guess it was a skate and surf shop that's run by Heath Ledger, the character played by Heath Ledger. And they started to get sponsored to go into these competitions, and they would do things like go and they would skate in empty swimming pools. If people had their swimming pool empty at a house, they'd go and skate in the swimming pools. They would do anything. They would skate in the roads, down the middle of the street. They would do anything just to skate. And what they do is they start competing in these different skating competitions because they get sponsored by this shop, and they really changed the face of skating. Now, people do argue that they don't believe that this is completely accurate to the real story and the real, like the Z Boys, that was the name of the group that they called themselves. So if you want to skip the movie, I think the movie's fantastic, but you can see the movie, and then there is the documentary is called Dogtown and the Z Boys. Dogtown is where they lived, and the Z Boys was the name that they gave themselves, the group of skaters that participated in these events and the little skate crew that they had. But they changed the face of skating, and you have both options. You have the movie, and then you have the documentary. So definitely check out both. They're great. And this next one, Michael Keaton is so good, and he's just so mean in this movie, but he's great. And it's called The Founder. It's based on the true story of McDonald's. And what happens is this takes place in the 1950s, and Michael Keaton plays the name of a guy by the name of Ray Kroc, and he comes upon this fast food restaurant run by these two brothers. Mac and Dick were their names, and they basically sold hamburgers and fries and Cokes, and he's very impressed with how they run everything and how efficient it is and how easily everything is ordered and how quickly the food comes out, and he's very taken by their process, and he kind of worms his way into what is now known as McDonald's, and he tries to find a way to kind of worm himself in and kind of push the brothers who invented this whole thing to the side. But this is a very, very interesting look. You wouldn't think a movie about like the founding of McDonald's was a big deal or very interesting. This is an amazing movie. It is so, so good. And whether you're interested in McDonald's or you eat McDonald's or not, you're going to love this movie. I highly, highly recommend it. So Founder would be the next one on my list. And I'm just going to grab my last few movies and we'll wrap this one up. Okay, friends, just a few more and we're out of here. Now, this first one is a fantastic movie about very, very important historical events, but I'm warning you, it's a tough watch. So just proceed with caution, but I highly recommend it. It's very, very good. It stars Don Cheadle and Nick Nolte in Hotel Rwanda, based on true events that took place in Rwanda in 1994. And basically there was genocide going on there. We had... the population had been split up into two groups, the Hutus and the Tutsis, and this was done by the Belgian government that had come in and meddled and decided who was who and who was going to be in charge and who was not. And at some point war breaks out and the Hutus start murdering the Tutsis, and it is just genocide and there is a slaughter going on. And Don Cheadle plays a Hutu. He's a hotel manager. He's also a Hutu who is married to a Tutsi woman, and he gets his main family in to safety to stay behind the walls of this hotel that he runs. And what he finds out is that they are having more and more people, the Tutsi people, showing up to the gates of the hotel seeking refuge, because if they stay out in the streets or in their homes, they're being slaughtered by the Hutus. And he doesn't know what to do, so he starts taking in as many people as he can. And in the meantime, they're trying to contact like the UN and other countries to come in and help them. And what they realize is help is not coming. No one's coming to help them. And this is about one man trying to do the best he can to save as many people as he can in one of the most horrific acts of genocide that has gone on. And in 3 months' time, over 1 million people were slaughtered in this genocide, and it's just horrific what happened in this country. And if you don't know about Rwanda and the Rwandan conflict and what went on, this is a real eye-opener. And if you want to see someone who tried to do, one man who kind of rose to a position where he was in a spot to help people, he helped as many people as he could. Really, really good stuff. And Don Cheadle's fantastic in it, as he is in everything. And Nick Nolte's good in it too. But really, really sad what went on here, and just amazing what one person can do when they really try to make a difference. And he used every resource he had to save as many people as he could. So definitely check out Hotel Rwanda. And this next one, I've talked about it before, but I'm going to talk about it again because it's a fantastic movie. It is also the directorial debut of Denzel Washington. It stars Denzel Washington, and it's inspired by a true story. It's called Antoine Fischer. And Antoine is a man who, he's in the Navy, and he also has an anger problem. He has a very bad temper, and he has a trigger temper. Well, he will just be, he is triggered and set off by the smallest things. He can't get himself under control. He's getting into fights. He's acting out. And his superiors come to him and they say, listen, you have two choices. You're either leaving or you're going to talk to the psychiatrist on base. And those are your choices. So reluctantly, he goes to talk to the psychiatrist, who of course is Denzel Washington. And he is very reluctant to participate because he just doesn't want to be there. And he swears he has nothing to say. And little by little, Denzel Washington starts to chip away at that exterior to try to get to the root of what is causing this man to have these anger outbursts that could ruin his, what otherwise would be a great career for him, a great future in the Navy. And it is just such a moving story about a man who is searching to rectify the things that happened in his past so that he is able to have a future. And this is going to move you to tears, but it is well worth the watch. So if you haven't seen Antoine Fischer, please, please, please give it a look, because it's fantastic. It's really, really good. And this is a very quirky, unconventional story, but it's a winner. I love this. It's called Mary and Max. And it's a claymation movie, but it's voiced by Toni Collette and Philip Seymour Hoffman. And Mary is an 8-year-old girl living in Australia, and Max is a 44-year-old man with Asperger's living in New York, and somehow they become pen pals. So they're writing back and forth, and they're exchanging letters, and like I said, she's 8 years old, he's 44, and they're talking about everything. And it says here, some of the topics, for 20 years, they have this pen pal relationship. And they're talking about everything. It says an unusual journey of friendship that explores autism, taxidermy, alcoholism, where babies come from, kleptomania, sexual differences, trust, copulating dogs, religious differences, agoraphobia, and more of life's big and little surprises. And this is such a great movie. It would sound like it would be highly inappropriate, but it really isn't. And I think you're going to love this one. I know you're going to love it because it is so, so good. And like I said, based on a true story. And it really just is about friendship. And even though people are completely different, it's about a real, authentic friendship. And it is so, so good and so well done. And here's the picture on the front. I love the claymation. I love how it looks. And I love what they've done with the characters. And it's so well done, so well acted, and just fantastic all around. So please give Mary and Max a look. It's a great one. And this is a very different role for Melissa McCarthy. And I know some people are not fans of Melissa McCarthy. I loved her in this one, and she is not playing the Melissa McCarthy that we all know. She's playing a woman by the name of Lee Israel, and this is a true story. Lee Israel, a writer, and she has she's doing well. She's got her writing career going, and she starts to run out of ideas, and she can't write, she can't get a book published, she's running out of money, she's at risk of losing where she lives, she can't pay her rent, she's really, really struggling, and she doesn't know what to do. And she has this letter, I forget who the letter is from, but it's a legitimate letter, and she turns it in and she gets money for it. And what she finds out is that there's a big market for letters from like celebrities or royalty or presidents or whomever. And what she does is she starts to meticulously forge documents and sell them to these places that will buy letters and such from celebrities, and pay good money for them. And she does such a great job, and she's so convincing that she gets away with it for a very long time. And that's all I'm going to tell you. But it's called Can You Ever Forgive Me? And if you haven't seen this, like I said, whether you like Melissa McCarthy or not, you are going to love her in this. This is such a good movie. Here it is. Can You Ever Forgive Me? And just take a chance on this one, because it's very, very interesting, and the lengths that she goes to, very, very interesting. But she did it for a long time. And this one I've talked about as well. This is an A24 film. It's called A Prayer Before Dawn. And this is the story of Billy Moore. Is it? Yeah, Billy Moore. And he's a young English boxer who ends up incarcerated in a Thai prison. And the only thing he knows is fighting and boxing. And what they do is eventually the prison lets him go on their, is it Muay Thai? Yeah, Muay Thai boxing. They let him go on the team, which lets him live out of like he's not in with the general population anymore. He gets to eat differently. He's training with the boxing team, and it just betters his existence in the prison. And that's all I'm going to tell you about it, because there's a lot more that goes into the story, obviously. But one of the interesting things about this movie is that they actually shot it in a real Thai prison with prisoners, with real prisoners in the movie. And that's why it is so authentic feeling. And this is really a very brilliant way that they shot this movie. But very authentic feeling, very rough, very gritty, and very, very good. So if you haven't seen A Prayer Before Dawn, I highly, highly recommend it. It's excellent. Really, really good stuff. And this one I've talked about before too, but for those of you who didn't hear it, I'm gonna talk about it again, because I love this movie. It's another A24 movie, and it says The Fairwell, based on an actual lie. And this is fantastic. We have our girl Awkwafina is in this one. And basically we have a Chinese family who they're living in New York, and they get a phone call that the grandma is living in China is very, very ill, and she only has weeks, maybe a month left to live. So what they do is they all make plans to go over there to say their goodbyes to the grandmother, but they have to do it under the guise of having a fake wedding, because in Chinese culture what they believe is if an elder is sick or dying, they don't tell them, because they believe that the elder should not have to carry the burden of knowing that they're dying, and that it is the family's responsibility to carry the burden of the sadness and of the eventual passing of the elders. So they can't tell her that she's sick. They tell her she has a cold or something, and they have to carry on with this ruse of this fake wedding. And it is equal parts heartwarming, heartbreaking, and funny. And it is just so, so good, as they are trying so hard not to let the cat out of the bag and to just keep it going and keep this fake wedding going, just so that they have time to spend with their grandmother before she leaves this earth. And it is so wonderful and so beautiful. And what I can tell you is watch the movie, and then if you watch the special features after, there's some really, really interesting things and really insightful things that come out in the special features that you're not going to want to know before you watch the movie, because it would definitely be spoilers for the movie. But definitely watch I forget what it is. It's oh, here it is. Special features is Nothing But the Truth. It's a chat with the writer director. It is so, so good, and this is her story, her family's story. So really, really good stuff. Definitely check this one out. And if you haven't seen The Farewell, put it high on your list, because it's going to hit every emotion and check every box. It's a good one. So that's my first round of stories based on true events or inspired by true events. And like I said, I'm going to keep this series going, because I really love movies based on true events. And I hope you like it. I hope you found a few movies that maybe you haven't seen yet or you haven't heard of, so you can check them out, pick them up. I want to thank you as always for watching. I appreciate each and every one of you. If you like this kind of content, feel free to subscribe, hit the notification bell so you know when I upload again. I put my upload schedule for the week over on the community tab. I think I'm going to start my Blu-ray collection videos tomorrow, Tuesday, so hopefully I'll get that one up on time. And that's going to do it for me today. So for now, that's a wrap.